trade agreements. What are the trade agreements made by the government of India in the year? That was Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement CECA with various nations such as India and Australia. We are having CECA, Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement, when there will be cooperation for coal, natural resources, uranium, green energy, and electronics. Now, free trade agreement with European Union. So European Union comprises of all the nations in the Europe. Recently there was exit of Britain. So except Britain, all nations of Europe, which India is having free trade agreement. Then next is Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement with Canada and CEPA with UAE. So Canada और UAE के साथ हमने Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement किया in terms of various deals and in terms of agri products, in terms of green energy, and so on. Then CECA with Singapore, again CECA with Singapore, and Asia-India Trade Agreement with Asian nations. So Asian nations comprising of all the littoral Asia nations which are in southeast part of India, and that are all having Asian goods and trade agreement. Then negotiations are completed for agreement with UAE and advanced stage with Australia in terms of various resources and produced in Australia and UAE. Then free trade agreement negotiation with United Kingdom on 13 January 2022 during the making of process in which Prime Minister of India may have certain calls for the United Kingdom. Now India-US Trade Policy Forum, ministerial discussion in terms of various kind of trade resources which are provided by USA to India. Earlier with India and USA we are having free trade agreements, then we are having CATSA, then COUNTASA, and so on, various agreements with USA. Then we have a mutual recognition agreement, MRAs, for social security programs as of 6th October 2021. So date is mentioned, which again makes important for prelims also. Sometime UPSC asks dates also. So social security agreements are made, remember it. And for nursing services and accountancy services and mobility issues concerning Indian professionals, remember it. Then next is Forex Reserve. So USA followed by UAE and China remain the top export destinations. So highest exports in which countries, friends? First is USA, second is UAE, and third was China in terms of attraction of highest forex resource. Then the next was India. Again our India was at 4th position. So as of end of November 2021, India was the 4th largest forex reserve provider, and it accumulated around 633.6 billion as of December 31st 2021. So around 634 billion. Remember the exact data, that is India के पास 634.6 billion of forex reserve, which was the highest of the total forex reserve since the LPG or liberalization, privatization and globalization era, which again makes the current account surplus for the economy, and which again puts the confidence of the investors to invest in Indian economy and having a more confident scenario in Indian sectors, which becomes the 4th largest forex reserve holder of the world. So remember it for your prelims as well as mains. Now UNESCAP data shows that 90.3% in 2021 United Nations has created the latest global survey on digital and sustainable trade facilitation, in which market placed a jump of 78.5%, and in 2020-21 which has a growth of 63.1% in South and West Asia. That means comprises of India, Singapore and other Asian tiger nations, which made the highest growth again in Asia Pacific region, which grew around 65.9%. So 63.1% to 65.9% of growth. Okay friends, remember it. And next is PM Gatishakti multimodal projects. Then there are various projects by Government of India in terms of provide more and more confidence to the transportation of goods as well as services in the territory. So PM Gatishakti model provides impetus to the development of ports, railways, mass communication, airports, waterways and logistics supply chain system in the country. Even in the budget we will look into it. So for now we look into there will bringing of 60 ministries together in order to prevail the logistics supply chain in India. So logistics के supply chain के लिए 16 ministries are coming together under PM Gatishakti program, and this will provide various projects in together with Bharat Mala project, Sagar Mala project, inland waterways, Udan, that is Udan phase 1 and Udan phase 2, and it will leverage technology extension by ISRO imagery navigation and by SAG, and that is Bhaskaracharya National Institute for Space Application. Again, the economic zones such as textile manufacturing, computer sector, software development, pharmaceuticals, electronic parts will cover to make the India business more competitive globally, and that will again make a huge leap in the investments during the post-COVID scenario in present situation. Now it again boosts the various projects and which are reflected in the World Trade Volume growth by IMF and World Bank. So let us look into this graph how it takes. Now earlier in 2017 it was forecasted that 5.6% of annual percent change, which reduced to 3.9 in 2018, again reduction to 0.9 in 2019, then COVID lockdown period, and -8.2%. तो जैसे ही वायरस ने अटैक किया दोस्तों, कैसे ये डेटा रिड्यूस होके माइनस नेगेटिव चला गया 2020 में. Now again due to various programs and policies and such as barbell strategy, agile framework, it rose to 9.7% and grows to 10.8%. So this line is showing world merchandise trade by WTO. So ये WTO का डेटा है दोस्तों, और the next one in terms of bar graph is from IMF. So it declines to 4.7 again in 2022, but it is forecasted to regrow in 2023. So इसमें recovery होने के chances हैं. So how far it is here? 6.7 by IMF data and 4.7 by WTO data. In year 2022, that is projected. So still we are in a good position in the economy as we see the V-shaped recovery, and our graph is still seem to be uplifting trend. So that again makes a good news for Indian economists as well as investors across the world to look positively towards Indian economy, which is more optimistic in investment. So government takes various steps in order to attract logistic efficiency and promote the export. Some of the measures such as fast tag for tagging of the containers carrying vehicles or container carrying trucks, which were fast tag to provide them easy toll movement. So containers और ट्रक्स में फास्टैग लगा दिया गया, जैसे ही वो टॉल पे पहुंचते हैं देयर फास्टैग इज कैप्चर्ड बाय द कैमरा प्रेजेंट देयर एंड दे कैन मेक इजी पेमेंट. सो लॉन्ग क्यूबिक जैम, पहले जैम लग जाते थे नोएडा एक्सप्रेसवे पे, आगरा एक्सप्रेसवे पे, नाउ दैट जैम इज कर्टेल्ड एंड लॉजिस्टिक प्रिवेल्स. तुरंत कस्टम अगेन बाय द CBIC checking and highlighting the faults and fastest cleaning of the system in terms of checking the what are things in the transportation. So Turant custom again makes a huge leap by CBIC. Then RFID, radio frequency identification, tagging all the EXIM bonds container mandatory. So RFID by radio frequency identification and checking all the movement of vehicles, whether they are trapped in some area across rivers or across a forest or across a tribal area, so they can be tracked and they can be provided immediate help whenever they are needing. So that again makes a huge leap. Then land custom stations. So stations were made at various places and they were called as land custom stations. Then there is integrated check post. There is a check post near the toll plaza which was integrated via internet checking and FASTag module. Now infrastructure enhancement and process reforms. Again for prevailing of logistics movement across the country, government provided ICE track. What is this, friends? Indian Custom Inquiry for Trade Assistance and Knowledge, that is ICE track, which provide the custom inquiry and assistance in terms of goods that come from the foreign market to India. So there is again custom clearance problem and custom duties import. So custom clearance takes huge kind of duties on depending on the materials that are used by the manufacturer in terms of the products such as gold, silver and other materials that are used. So उसके clearance के लिए ICE track बना दिया गया. Then there was ICE dash, Indian Custom EDI dashboard, again which provides huge leap in custom clearance. Then there is SLDE, secured logistics document exchange. When the logistics carrying vehicle come to certain territories such as Andaman Nicobar or it reaches to farthest territories of northeastern region, then there is secured logistic document exchange. The documents are authenticated and verified at various posts, which means that the documents that are taken are valid in nature and that do not need any further checking. This leads to import clearance system at the cargo port or airport. Import clearance system was adopted. So as soon as any agency brings these things, there is import clearance system, which again makes the development of the system for greenhouse gas calculator. In terms of the logistic movement, when there is a sensitive area or in terms of pollution tracking, so there is pollution checking by making a greenhouse gas calculator. So pollution check किया गया greenhouse gas calculator बना के. Then last but not the least, E-Sanchit was launched under SWIFT to introduce paperless processing as integral part of SWIFT. So E-Swift launch किया गया. SWIFT तो already existing था friends, but there was a E-Sanchit program which stored the data of all the exports, imports that are coming to India and the suppliers which are taking those imports to different territories. That again makes our data collection paperless and elucidates the process of transportation and the communication. Now coming to the next, relative contribution in imports growth. Now as we see in the graph by economy survey, how imports are rising since 2021 and 2022. Non-gold, silver imports, which again show a rising trend. Again it shows a V-shaped recovery. As you see earlier, from quarter 1 to quarter 4 the graph is declining, then there is balance, then again declining to quarter 3, again leads to a rise since 2021 quarter 4 to 2022 quarter 1st, which goes to 120, 150, or it is nearby 200. So it again makes the huge import of gold, silver and non-gold items. So India is having a huge impetus for these items, luxury goods and so on. Then again it shows import of non-gold, silver imports and maximum contribution. So as we see, graph is declining, again making a V-shaped recovery in 2021, again reaches a huge peak, again declining in 2022, but in 2022. So luxury always on a rising trends because of the psychological behavior of the people. Remember friends, economy always runs on the human behavior. When people feel that they need to invest in the luxury goods, they want to feel happy, they will purchase new Apple phones, they will purchase a new vehicle, cars or certain luxurious product, diamond jewelry, gold products, silver products. So economy always runs on the human behavior, and humanities, when people wanted to be happy, they purchase luxury goods. So again luxury goods make a huge comeback in 2022.